Hello, Kiss Army. Welcome to the Kiss Army Things podcast. My name is Xander.
I don't know where I am right now. And I'm Rob.
Welcome to episode 139 of the Kiss Army Things podcast. We are going to be reviewing the Gene Simmons show in Beaver Dam, Kentucky. I know I had a great time. What did you think of the show?
After getting unwaterlogged, which we'll talk about later.
Right, yeah.
I had a blast of all the things that people that we thought we would see live. I didn't think it'd be Gene. It was just amazing.
Yeah. So this is a really special episode because obviously we get to have Rob in the Kiss Army Things headquarters. So we get to have him on the show, which is great. And we're going to, in true Kiss Army Things style, pop open a couple Moneybag sodas. Gene Simmons Moneybag sodas. Cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers, my friend.
And we're going to be spending this episode talking about the epic show at Beaver Dam Amphitheater, the season opener.
Yes.
This was the first show of their season, which, not the hottest way to kick off the season, but hey, it's rock and roll. It is what it is. There are no rules. So yes, we had a great time. And I want to obviously start out with the Kiss Spotlight, because we're always talking about the Kiss music, and of course, we listened to some Kiss on the way. I know you did on the way down, so I'm going to go ahead and let you kick it off, talk about the Kiss Spotlight, and then we'll roll right into our Gene Simmons review.
So my Kiss Spotlight, I tend to, whatever band I'm going to go see, that's the thing I want to listen to. So rather than go through, I'm going to listen to Carnival, listen to Revenge, I went to A-Hole.
Oh, yeah, Gene Simmons.
Gene Simmons solo album, something I haven't listened to in a long, long time. And I forgot how much that I liked a lot of the songs. Mm-hmm. And then I quickly remembered why I don't listen to that album very much. And some songs I was like, what in the world?
What is Gene doing?
In a 3-hour car ride, I'm like, nope, I'm powering through. And luckily it wasn't all the 3-hour car ride that was over and over again.
Yeah, right.
But at the end of it, I did have a good time revisiting something from 2003, 2004 era of Kiss, probably a little bit earlier.
I think it's 04. Yeah,
04.
I think it came out in 04.
Yep. But yes, songs like Sweet and Dirty Love, and knowing that from the previous tour when he was over in Europe and stuff, that he was doing Weapons of Mass Destruction, which that was a song I always really liked on it, plus Eric and Bruce are on that, along with the song Sweet and Dirty Love. So I was hoping to see that. When we talk about the set list, we'll get into whether that song was there or not.
Sure.
So that was my spotlight. Then I have a tandem spotlight with you and Daphne because, you know, they let me stay the night before, so I got to stay here. So we will obviously watch some Kiss, so that'll figure in to a double spotlight that Xander will have.
Yeah, well, and on our way down and back, we listened to Revenge. That was the Kiss album that we kind of like. We listened to some Godsmack and some Disturbed and some non-Kiss stuff, but when it came to Kiss, I was like, I think I have Revenge in here somewhere. And so that was the album that we listened to twice all the way through.
Yeah, front to back, which was good.
Yeah, it was good. It's one of our favorite Kiss albums, so yes. But you mentioned the double spotlight, so yeah, we thought, okay, so what are we going to do? What are we going to watch? And we said, why don't we watch Kissology Volume 3? Specifically, the Palace of Auburn Hills show on the Revenge tour.
Yes. And
Kiss Unplugged back to back. So we just sat there and watched Kiss pretty much for like 3 or 4 hours straight. It was pretty awesome. So that was our Kiss Spotlight. So let's go ahead and get to the main part of the show here, because obviously we've been looking forward to seeing Gene for a while now, and we were wondering whether the shows were going to happen or not.
Yeah.
Because not only did the first leg of the tour, all the April dates get canceled, but then the very first show in Georgia got cut short by 6 songs.
Right.
Due to the weather.
Yeah.
And that was us going, uh-oh, what's it going to be like in Beaver Dam? Because our weather was saying the same thing, it's going to rain.
And it was funny, while we were watching the Revenge show from Detroit, Xander was on his phone kind of going, almost, in some cases, not even a minute, but 10 minutes, 20 minutes, that the weather was just getting worse and worse. And waking up that next morning, we were kind of killing some time because the show wasn't till 7, that we started going, man, it's supposed to rain maybe right up until showtime. Then it's going to be till 9 o'clock. And then at one point, Xander was like, it's going to rain. It's going to rain all night long. So what ended up being the case, you know, as we were driving, what was our weather like?
Yeah, we were driving and it was still the same. It was raining and cloudy and murky and just gloomy. And we're thinking, man, it's going to be really awful if we, you know, spent all this time kind of, you know, making this effort to go and it gets canceled, but you can't control the weather. So the email from the website or from the venue said rain or shine.
Yeah.
So whether, you know, it's going to happen as long as there's no lightning. So we thought, okay, at least we know something's going to happen. And we even said, as long as Gene just comes out on stage,
right.
Even if it does get cut short, at least we got to see Gene.
Yep, there he is. We see him. We're good.
But spoiler alert, no cancellations. The whole show went off without a hitch. There was some rain. We'll get to that. Yeah. But as far as like lightning, thunder, cancellations,
none of that.
Delays, nothing. Which is, we got lucky.
I think that's what they had in Georgia, getting into 6 songs. Yeah. That they did have like severe weather.
And which forced them to say, "Hey, sorry guys, we can't do it." So,
yeah, and
it is what it is.
When you're going to, at least for me, I know the amphitheaters and the sheds that I go to. So going, okay, Xander said, "Oh, we have seats." Oh, if we have seats and we're not in the lawn, that means we're under the pavilion. So yeah, maybe our sides will get a little wet. We'll be fine. The only shelter was for the band, and this was a concrete slab. Now, that's not saying any disparaging comments to the venue, because the venue is a great venue to see places. They just have like chairs, folding chairs out there for us to sit in.
Yeah.
In the element. So if it's raining, it snows if it snows, and that's just how it is.
Yep. You bought your ticket, so if you want to be there, you're going to be there. And we said we are staying right here. And so we get to the venue, and we're looking for merch. And lo and behold, no merch. No merch.
No damn merch. Well, there was.
There was.
There's damn merch.
We got our damn merch, but there was no Gene merch.
We say all the time, being Kiss fans, if Gene Simmons, I even said at the venue, if Gene Simmons could have plucked a blade of grass out of the ground, he would have said, "This blade of grass is $50."
I touched it.
I touched
my DNA.
There was not a single stitch of merch. We've been to many Kiss shows and go, "I'm going to buy this shirt. I'm going to get that poster." Zero merchandise of anything with the Gene Simmons logo.
Which is wild.
The opening band, the Iron Maidens, which were fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
They had a merch table.
Yeah.
The venue had a merch table. Gene?
The king of merch.
The king of merch has nothing.
Nothing. And everyone was over there. Like, we're all looking around for merch, and there's fans, and we're all kind of like joking like Gene, of all people.
And of course, everybody is wearing Kiss t-shirts. Gene Simmons all over the face. Like, we clearly are the merch people.
Right, yeah.
At this venue.
You and I put aside money to get a t-shirt.
Right.
And, wasn't able to make it happen. So while we're sitting there waiting for the show, we said, you know what, we're just going to go to genesimmons.com and we're going to buy our own t-shirt. We'll show him. Like, yeah.
And he's still going, and I got your money anyway.
He's going, oh yeah. But no, so we're sitting there going, what in the world? And then the coolest thing happened.
Yes.
So while we're looking for merch, and we kind of have all but given up, and we're going back to our seats, I hear somebody say, "Hey, are you Xander from Kiss Army Things?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am. What's up, man?" And it turns out that's one of our biggest viewers, one of our biggest fans, whose name is JT Milho, and he's like, "Man, I love your podcast. I've been watching." I'm like, "Yeah, I know you. I see your name all the time pop up." And so it was really cool getting to not just meet, a Kiss fan, but a Kiss Army Things fan, an RBTE fan. We got to take pictures with him and just sat there and talked about Kiss, the end of the road tour, getting to see Gene. And I think you will agree that that's one of the best parts about all of this, is getting to meet the fans, talk with the fans, share experiences, and just all that.
I mean, we experienced that in Rosemont with all of us. We had a viewer of our channel literally sitting down,
crazy.
One seat down ahead of us. And it just connects, not just because we have podcasts and stuff, that we would have talked to anybody in a Kiss t-shirt. You're like, "Hey, that's a cool Hot in the Shade t-shirt. Oh my gosh, that's a Dynasty, t-shirt you got on," or whatever. To be able to have this community, whether you love the Elder or hate the Elder, the middle ground is that you love Kiss, and you could just see this exude out of him, that he was having such a good time talking about Kiss, getting to talk to his mother and father, and saying this is his passion. Not only is Kiss his passion, but this very podcast is something that he loves. And you could just, if he could have given you a big hug, I think that would have made his day. But giving a couple fist bumps and him looking to us directly in the eye, and his mother just had some great things to say, that he's doing great in school and he's an excellent soccer player, and
that's why he gets to go to all these concerts. He saw 8 shows at the end of the road tour. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. He's only 14.
Yeah.
So I'm like, when I was 14, I only see 1 Kiss show, maybe 2 Kiss shows.
Right.
And he's like, "No, man, I've seen 8. So it was like, that was really cool. So I know you're watching, man. Shout out to JT, man. Thank you. And also stay tuned for the Patreon video, because he's going to be in the Patreon video too.
Yes.
So that was really special. And it was pretty much after that we went and sat in our seat and was kind of waiting for the show to start. Is there going to be any delays? And nope. Iron Maidens came on at 7 o'clock. ripped the stage up and did a great job, which I knew. I heard nothing but good things about them.
Same.
And even though I'm not like a big Iron Maiden fan, I still have that respect for them and their music and their catalog, even though I only knew like maybe 4 songs, maybe like 4 or 5.
I think I knew 5.
Yeah, I mean, like they played The Trooper, of course, Aces High or whatever.
Number of the Beast.
There was one more that was like, oh, that was really cool. But the one they didn't play
was Run to the Hills. That to me
that's like Kiss not playing Rock and Roll Night.
Now, I'm sure there's an Iron Maiden fan that's going to say, no, they ended their set the way they were supposed to.
Which makes perfect sense. Perfect
sense.
But of course, you and I being the casuals, like, that's the only one I wanted to hear.
Right, so we're now those casual Kiss fans. They better play Rock and Roll All Night and Deuce, or I'm out of here.
Which explains why Kiss does what they do, because then you get other bands where it's like, yeah, you only know the hits.
One of the biggest compliments that I can make to them, I'm sure we've all seen tribute bands that you've gone to look at and go, that was cute what they were doing. It was it was a nice try. They were professional. They looked the part of the person that they were supposed to represent. The drummer was just killing it. Now, her set wasn't set up like Nico or anything like that, but had that energy and that
She was still back here killing it. I mean, that's hard stuff to play. You're a drummer, you know that. Like, that stuff is hard to play.
The guitar players were just shredding it.
Yeah, they were both killer.
They sounded top-notch, and the vocals.
As soon as she hit them notes,
dude. Oh, my gosh, yeah.
That was awesome. So, yeah, that was a real treat to see.
Yeah.
How long was their set, do you think? Maybe like 45 minutes?
Probably 45 minutes. I remember looking at my watch and thinking, okay, they probably have a half-hour set.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they might have been cresting the hour mark. The next time I looked at my watch, they were doing the stage tear down at like 8:08, but I think they had started taking some of the Iron Maidens stuff down. So it might have been cresting past... It might have been 50 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
It was pretty close.
It was a good set. Not too long, not too short. It was perfect. And as of now, the weather's held off. We're still good. We're still dry for now. A little chilly, but...
And we have blue skies for about half. You can look and see there's some clouds over here, but this whole back half behind where the lawn is, you're like, there's some blue skies, and you can see the clouds are kind of going around on a counterclockwise, like, hey, this is rotating out of here.
Yeah. So right now, we're still really hopeful. We're just fingers crossed, no rain. You can kind of see the clouds in the background. Hope they miss us. They didn't, spoiler. But anyway, for now, we're good. Right now, we're in the zone because we're in between sets, so we know Gene's coming on next.
Right.
We don't know what we're going to get as far as set list. And so we're thinking, okay, what's going to happen? And so we have the set list pulled up here, and we're going to kind of go through the songs because he played some stuff that I was not expecting.
Like the set list from Georgia, we kind of maybe knew what the 6 songs were.
Yeah.
But beyond those first 6, we had no idea. And there were some definite shockers that we heard a song for the first time played live, and it was only ever played live once.
Maybe. Yeah, a couple times. Like this right here was real special. Yeah, so we're going to get all kinds of cool stuff. The opener to his set is Deuce, which, I don't know, I thought was really cool because I think, did Ace open his set with Deuce? No, he did Shock Me, but Ace did Deuce as well in his shows. So that was kind of cool hearing Ace play Deuce, hearing Gene play Deuce. Of course.
And we also have the intro music
I shouldn't skip that.
Radioactive.
That's really cool.
Which... That would have been the one spot. Like, just go right into Radioactive. You have...
That would have been amazing.
That evil-sounding music and laugh going on, and then...
just
Deuce,
kick in
Radioactive would have been great. But we got Deuce that kind of made it feel like, hey, we kind of get a little mini Kiss concert here.
Yeah, that's what I felt. I was like, we're kind of... Obviously, we're at a Gene show, but this is a founding member of Kiss. And this is one of the very first Kiss songs ever written, ever performed. It was the first song that all 4 played together. So it felt right in the moment hearing Deuce. So yeah, I got some really good video of Deuce, and I'm gonna do a Patreon video of some of my videos that I took. So if you want to see some of the stuff, definitely check that out. Track number 2, Shout It Out Loud, which another Kiss song. Now that plays pretty closely to a Kiss show because they would play that one.
That surprised me that it was here, knowing that you've got a Paul vocal going against a Gene vocal. And I can't remember the gentleman. Brett Woods was on one side. All 4 members of the band sang. But I can't remember the gentleman's name that sang the Paul lead parts.
Oh, man. Was it James? Am I making that up? I forget his name. I probably could look it up real quick and just find out Gene Simmons, his band. Jason Walker.
That's right.
I said James. Yeah. Jason Walker, who was fantastic.
And could hit the high notes that, didn't sound like Paul, but filled that space where
he was doing the Paul stuff.
Yeah.
Like, do it during Deuce. He was the guy.
He had all that stuff down, yeah.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And he was doing, of course, the Paul vocals for Shout Out Loud, and then Gene would take over for, of course, Gene's vocals. But, yeah, there's something special about... That's one song, Shout Out Loud, I don't really go back to on the studio version,
No.
Like, I'm never like, you know what, I want to hear Shout Out Loud from Destroyer. You know what I mean? No. I want to hear All the Way from Hotter Than Hell, or something off of Carnival of Souls, you know what I mean? But having that in a set list live, there's something different being there in person, getting to sing, shout it, shout it out loud, and you're there with the call and response. And so that song to me has always been better live.
Same.
So I feel like maybe some fans would say, hey, why don't you take out some of these better known Kiss songs and put in some more Gene Simmons solo songs. And I do get that on one hand.
Yeah.
But if you're going to start off a Gene show, like 2 nice Kiss songs to kind of ease you in, classic Kiss songs nonetheless.
And you're already getting the whole audience already singing. Everybody knows these songs.
Yeah.
And then Gene could kind of start priming in, okay, here's some left turns and here's some real left turns that we're going to pull out.
You make a really good point, because track 3 was Are You Ready, which was the lead single off of his, The Vault.
Right.
It was also a demo that was recorded for Sonic Boom and Monster, never released. It was included on our Hand of Fate, our Make Believe New Kiss album. Mm-hmm. So I got to hear the song from the Make Believe Kiss album live, which to me was really special. I knew he's been playing the song in the set list. I was excited to hear it. I was hoping that he didn't take it out, and he even touted it as an unrecorded, unreleased song from Kiss, and which I knew was Are You Ready? But that still to me was like exciting to hear both the song and him saying unreleased track from Kiss. I think the crowd kind of too was like their ears perked up a little bit, like ooh, new music, new song. So yeah, you get 2 classics, and then here's a fresh tune. Now, how do you like Are You Ready? Is that something that
I loved Are You Ready?
I
there
like
was I don't know if it was a bootleg or a compilation that somebody had made online that I had downloaded.
Okay.
So that's how I had first heard it. But this also is a moment in the show that Gene starts adding audience participation. And Gene...
Oh, yes.
And Gene is also doing... It's not the typical banner. This almost feels like a Q&A. Like, they would get done playing a song, and Gene would talk to the crowd. Of course, Gene being Gene, little
it's
tongue...
unfiltered.
Unfiltered, stuff like that.
Inappropriate rock star.
Right.
Yeah.
And having the girls say, okay, girls, you're going to sing with us now. You're going to do, Are You Ready? Like doing that over the top stuff. And I leaned over to you one point. I go, if Paul was on stage, there'd be none of this.
Yeah, there's a reason why Paul's the front man and
Right.
Paul does the speaking, because Gene, he just kind of goes off left field
and you could tell,
says what he wants.
He even said at one point, we're just out here for ourselves.
Yeah, he said, we're not here to impress anybody.
Yeah.
We're out here. If you're enjoying it, that's good. But this is for us. This is a chance for us to just get out and stretch our legs and just kind of have fun with it. Because Gene's been doing the same thing. Okay, gotta do the blood spitting, gotta do the fire. Here comes this part. It's all scripted and like choreographed. Whereas now he gets to just kind of let loose, play the songs he wants to, Kiss, non-Kiss, and talk to the crowd how he wants to. And I know some folks don't like that and would rather prefer a more structured show, but it was nice to see Gene kind of letting loose a little bit, having fun, get to do his own thing. But yeah, he did invite some people up for Are You Ready? He had like some folks over here, some folks over here, and then he would, or was that song where he was doing that, or was that just us singing back?
That was us. That was us singing back and forth. Yeah.
At some point, he did bring people on stage. We'll get to that, but so yeah, I loved hearing Are You Ready? That was one of the highlights for me.
Yeah.
And then going right back into Kiss, we get War Machine, which is a song that when Kiss played it, I loved it. When Gene plays it, I love it. It's so heavy. It's so good. It's quintessential Gene.
It felt heavier in the Gene Simmons solo band than it did Kiss.
Okay.
I don't know if it was just with Brent and... Like, Gene's bass also being somebody that plays in bands, his bass was ahead in the mix.
Yeah.
It wasn't, like, overly loud, but you could tell, like, I can hear Gene. I could hear all of Gene's little runs and
whereas
little fills.
Tommy might be the higher, because he's a lead guitar player, whatever. But yeah, you're right. Gene's bass was fat.
Yeah.
It was thick and fat.
And Brian Tishy, the drummer, was just laying into the floor toms. Had a big, huge gong that he would hit every now and then. So
that was cool.
War Machine just felt like on acid almost. It was just ramped up, and it was just in a lower register than it is traditionally.
And he does that thing where he goes, let me see your hands. And everybody fist pumps.
Oh, yeah.
And I got some good footage of everybody just sitting there going, douche, douche. And everybody has their fists in the sky pounding. And it's like, that's rock and roll. Yeah. That's what I want. And then again, we get one more from Creatures of the Night. We get I Love It Loud. So we get 2 Creature songs back to back. War Machine, I Love It Loud. And this is when he had folks coming up on stage. He would handpick people from the crowds, get 2 microphones set up, and then he brought out Allie and Lauren.
I think so.
Or was it Lauren? I think it was.
Yeah, Allie was on.
Allie was pregnant.
Pregnant, yeah.
Allie was
pregnant. And he would say, like, you come up here and bring your kid.
Yeah, which I had nothing to do with. He made sure to say, that's not me.
That was me.
Yeah, nothing to do with that. And then you got Lauren over here with the demon makeup on, so that's really cool. Mm-hmm. And they get to do the, hey, yeah. So that was really cool. And I was really hoping to be one of the ones to get on stage. But of course, I'm the wrong gender. I don't quite look as good as some of the ones that were on stage.
Right,
but it was nice to just be in the crowd, and because they got that moment, and that is a special moment. And so I think that song is one more song that folks could say, I don't want to hear I Love It Loud. They did that on every single Kiss show, but it just works so well live, and I feel like it just
one of those quintessential Gene Simmons songs
for real.
Yeah. And Gene doesn't have many into the '80s. And '90s, where you got the Dr. Loves and
Creatures of the Night was his last single. Yeah, you're right. So I think it's a good set so far, and we're going to get back into some more of the obscure or the different stuff, because he did 2 Kiss songs and then a random song, as it were, 2 more Kiss songs, and then here we get 2 quote unquote random songs.
Yeah.
The first being House of Pain, which is what he said, an unreleased
Van Halen song, and it's not the Van Halen song that we know. It's a different version of the song by the same name.
From back when he discovered them.
Yeah, and it was just Alex and Eddie, and then Gene producing.
Yeah, so that was really cool, because that was, of course, the last song played in Georgia before they, had to cancel. But I'm thinking, House of Pain, I was looking at it, but I didn't see the Van Halen part. I was like, what is House of Pain? Yeah. Is that an unreleased Gene song? We're going to get some more stuff. But this was, like I said, an unreleased. And he was talking about how he, went and saw Van Halen and then got him a demo, which would end up being the first 2 records. And then just because of other things, had to pass on it. And then they come to be like the biggest band in the world. Right. So he was kind of telling some stories, which was really cool. And then they rip into House of Pain, which I got to admit was probably one of the heaviest songs of the night. I was like, this came out in 78?
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
And I can hear why it didn't appear on Van Halen 1 or Van Halen 2, because stylistically it was out of the realm and of what Van Halen is. But even that, it is the song out of Gene's set that was the most different of everything he was playing that night. Because this was in the vein of a Disturbed, of a Seven Dust, in that
heavy,
a Godsmack, this really heavy, and this was Jason doing the lead vocals.
I think so.
On this as well.
I think so. Yeah, and this one, again, it's like he's playing, and I'm like, I've never heard this. I still have never heard the original demo, so I don't know. But I'm just thinking, like, this almost seems like it was ahead of its time.
Yes.
In '78. Because I was thinking, this was 78? Because it was pretty heavy. So I guess he must have had like a demo tape somewhere. Because I don't know how many folks have actually heard that demo. I know I never have.
Yeah, I haven't.
So I don't know if that's like something that's just like out there in the Van Halen fan circles, or if it's something that only Gene, Alex, and Eddie have. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. But it was still a cool treat. Followed by Motorhead, which again, he was telling stories. I met Lemmy. And you know what really surprised me is he could have said Lemmy was a drinker and a smoker, and he was, he didn't live his life the way you should. I don't drink, I don't do drugs. But you know what he said?
Did the exact opposite.
That man was a sweetheart, would have given you the shirt off his back, a true rock and roll gentleman.
Yep, and one of the kindest souls you'd ever want to meet.
I was at his funeral, so was Slash, everybody was there, and it was just, it was nice. You know what I mean? Again, I feel like most people would want Gene to kind of like, okay, continue the show, but he's doing a nice thing by like giving respect to these artists, Van Halen, Motorhead, and just I don't know, it's really cool. You don't really hear a lot of that happening,
especially in a day and age where a lot of stars and musicians are kind of fighting with each other.
Right, yes.
Gene's taking the high road, which
that to me is
which
important.
sometimes I get that band members don't always do that.
Right.
But I think Gene takes the respect where the respect is needed. Like, it's one thing to take the pot shot at somebody when they're still here, when it's gone. That's not fair, and Gene's not one to paint himself in that corner, especially trying to play a song that he must obviously love enough to want to include into his set and to give respect. So that got a good reaction from the crowd.
Yeah, it's so Ace of Spades has been played in his like European sets last year, and then he was doing Weapons of Mass Destruction. So it almost looks like Weapons came out for House of Pain, but Ace of Spades has stayed, which is really cool.
Yeah,
and again, one more fast, heavy song. So Gene's not pulling out any wimpy stuff here. Everything so far has been pretty in your face, pretty upbeat. Like, Gene was pulling no punches with these songs, and Brian was the one who sang Ace of Spades, right? Which was really cool.
Yeah.
So after that, we get a little bit of a not like a dead moment, but we get like a more of a chill moment in the set where they're like jamming. Gene introduces the band members and talks about them a little bit, and I want to know how many folks in the audience caught this, because you and I did. But about 2/3 of the way into the jam, Brian Tishy like holds his finger up and says, hold on, and then starts doing a cowbell drum beat with the snare.
Yeah.
And then you hear the guitar come in, and then Gene comes in with the bass, and I know it, but I'm hearing it in a context I never have before. So I'm like, Rob, what are we hearing right now?
And I'm starting to go dun 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 dun. Like, that's Lover All I Can.
It's Lover All I Can. So they're playing, like, they didn't sing it or anything, but they played a huge chunk.
They essentially did like a chorus, like a verse, a chorus, and then after that chorus they kind of jammed it out, and they all looked at each other like, and we're done.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, how many folks in this crowd, like, there's only like probably 10% that are going, oh my gosh, we're hearing Lover All I Can, which, that was a very spontaneous moment. So again, I love the spontaneous moments in the Gene show, because a Kiss show, you know what you're going to get. It's paint by
and that look from Gene looking at Brian like, what are you doing right now?
What do you mean, hold on? Like, okay, I'll stop. Gene,
this is my show. I tell you.
Yeah, he actually said, Gene, hold on. His face is on screen. Gene, hold on. And he goes, what? And he's like, dun dun. And Gene's like, all right, fine, we'll go with it. So Gene was really cool with like letting the guys be themselves and be their own rock. He wasn't like, no, you guys stay back. This is me.
This is the show. This is the set list. We do this. You could tell just very loose. And even as songs ended, he very rarely went from song 1 to song 2. It was like song ended, he talked to the crowd.
Yeah, he was making jokes with the crowd, and everybody's, like waving and stuff. And then, so it felt really cool.
Yeah.
And of course, we're like not in the back. We're off to the side on the left, but back far enough to where we can kind of just like look around and kind of see everybody and kind of get not a bird's eye view, but a nice view of the whole stage, the crowd, and everything like that. But yeah, that jam was a cool part, because he would even like just step back towards the amps, and let whoever come up and just shred. We've always heard Gene, I prefer a simple A chord that cracks your ribs as opposed to a million notes on like Angry Bee. But he'll let his guys go up there and do Angry Bee if he wants to do Angry Bee.
And just hanging out behind the drum kit.
And Gene will just kind of hang back, and it was a really cool thing.
Yeah.
So that, even though the jam, I could see where some folks like, oh, come on, play more songs. It was cool to hear him kind of laid back, loose, and then of course go into Lover All I Can. But this is where the set is going to kick into high gear. I feel like at this point the rain's kicked in, right?
Yeah, this is about the
rain. Because we're about halfway through the set list now, and it's pitch black dark, which is nice because you get to see the stage, but you can't really tell when the rain's coming in.
At one point, Xander says, I just got to drop a rain on me. And I was like, you shut your mouth right now.
And I was like, no, I'm serious. Like, I'm not like,
and I was like,
jokes.
No, it's just a joke. And I had taken a picture to post on, and I had a water drop on my phone. And I was like, Xander, what are you doing?
And I could see the spotlight guy, and I could see the rain coming through the spotlight.
That's the first thing I did. I looked over at the spotlight, and I'm like, I can see the rain in the spotlight. And that spotlight had went out about a song or two later. So
you're right.
I think they had shut it off, because that'll crack the mirror of the spotlight.
That'll fry it or something. Yeah, so spotlight goes down. The rain is coming. Rob goes and gets a poncho.
I get a poncho.
I got my hood on. Like, we're sending her like this. And Gene says, we're going to play one for you now. This song is called Parasite. And I don't know if that one was in his European set. I feel like I should know that.
Yeah.
But I was like, because you asked me, so what song do you want to hear? And I was like, you know what? it'd be cool to hear Parasite. Not knowing that he would play, I was like, it'd just be cool to hear it.
Yeah, the night before I asked you that on the couch, and I was kind of thinking, I was
like,
not going to happen.
It'd be cool. And he goes, here it goes, Parasite. And I was like, Rob, here we go. And so, of course, I'm like, yeah. I'm headbanging and I'm getting into it. And I'm freezing cold, but I'm trying to keep warm by moving. But that one was a really good one. Brian killed it on the drums. Gene vocals were strong. That was, again, Are You Ready? And then now Parasite was one of the highlights for me.
And I didn't know if I wanted to say this on the show, so this is something I say. If you want to edit this out, go ahead.
Oh, you're good.
He says, after this song, just to let you know, there are no backing tracks.
Right.
There are no people behind the stage. This is all us. What you hear is real, raw, live rock and roll.
What you see is what you get.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. All right. I don't know what you're trying to say with that, but I think I know what you're trying to say with that. And I took some comfort into that going, you hit a sour note, you hit a sour note. If you're off pitch, you're off pitch, and it is what it is.
Yeah, and they were very laid back and loose. At one point, Gene was stepping on, I think it would have been, who was on the far right? Right.
That would have been Brett.
Brent? Okay, yeah. So he was standing on Brent's, his cord.
He was pulling it all night, which I think Gene was screwing with him all night long.
You think it was on purpose?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, for sure.
After a while, Brett would kind of pull, then he would make these long, exaggerated pulls, like almost like get off.
Yeah. There was one time where he was walking away, and I could see it getting taut, and I was like, you better be careful, otherwise it's going to unplug. And so you see him walking, and he kind of stops and looks back and yanks it. And yanks it again, and then Gene lifts his foot up and kind of looks back. And what the heck? And I'm like, Gene, that's you're gonna
like
get
he lifts
up.
his foot up, but I'm like, okay, once has happenstance, but like 6 times throughout the show, Gene's like, I got you. There was even one time where he was messing with him, like, this is Brent Woods. He's a great guitar player. He has an ass of a 12-year-old girl. Yeah, it's like turn around, show him that ass.
No. He's like, I don't know you right now.
Yeah, I literally don't.
No, be quiet. Move on. I don't know you right now. And Gene's laughing.
I'm not messing with you tonight. Stop it.
Yeah, so you know that like backstage, these guys are getting along really well, having fun. And again, it's not about. I feel like Gene, even though he does have an ego and he's earned that right to have, he's paid the price to have his way. If you want to go with a lyric from Hell or Hallelujah,
right?
So okay, sure, but Gene. These are his guys. They're his band. He's cool with letting them be themselves and do their thing. And I've even heard Ace's band, who was once Gene's band, say, he'll roast you and make fun of you, but he loves it when you give it back.
You're giving it back to him.
If you give it back to him, and be like, oh, says the guy who He's like, oh, okay, you won't play that game, and then that's how you become friends with Gene. Is you kind of like, don't take it, give it back to him a little bit and he'll respect you,
Yeah.
And you can see that between the guys. There was a lot of respect on stage between those guys.
And I know that we said it earlier, but I think being in KISS for as long as he was, and especially going through a touring cycle where the show is so regimented that everything happens at a certain time and there's a click track going on, or even if it's not a click track, it's just we do song 1 to song 2 to song 3 to song 4.
Yeah.
That I think Gene found comfort into that. Like, I'm not watching the clock. I don't care if there's a curfew tonight. We're playing the songs that we're going to play, and if I talk for 10 minutes, I talk for 10 minutes. That's right. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's Gene's show. It's his band. He's going to do what he wants. He does have Paul nagging him about
rolling his eyes like, okay, let's go.
Let's keep it moving. So yeah, Parasite was great. He ends Parasite and then says, I'm not gonna waste any more of your time. We're gonna go into this song. Ace wrote it.
Yeah.
It's called Cold Gin. And I was like, all right, here we go.
When he said, I'm not gonna waste any more time, the rains have started to get to that point where it's not the light sprinkle anymore.
No, there are people leaving now.
It's a rain. People are starting to leave. So when he said that, I looked at you like, uh-oh, is this the last song? Like, I'm not going to waste any more of your time.
Are we cutting it?
We're going to start cutting. This is the last song. He didn't say that, but that's what I started thinking.
Right. And I think what he meant was, okay, no more jokes, no more BS. We're getting right down to it. Ace wrote it. It's called Cold Gin. And of course, Cold Gin, I've always said this on the show, is like one of my favorite songs to hear live. It works so well live. Yeah. Again, I heard Ace play it a couple months ago, so it's kind of wild hearing so far Deuce, Parasite, and Cold Gin I've heard played by both Ace
and Gene.
So yeah, Cold Gin, you can't go wrong there. So 2 more KISS covers before going into Bad Reputation. This is the one that threw us off the most.
We both looked at each other, and I don't even think they announced this song. Maybe he did say... Did he say Bad Reputation?
He said Bad... Yeah. And I'm thinking, what, Joan Jett? Like, we were kind of thinking, what?
And I don't know if it was from the rain. My brain had brain freeze on it. I could not, for the life of me, think what this song was. Even a Setlist FM that we were looking at it in the hotel that night, where I was like, "Hey, the set list is already up." Somebody hadn't tagged
it wasn't,
what it was.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to look rock song, bad reputation, and I couldn't.
You're getting all kinds of stuff.
I get all kinds of stuff. So
nothing is what we heard.
Until we sat down and seeing it was Thin Lizzy, then all of a sudden he played
now
it.
It clicks.
I was like, of course, that's what that was.
So that was cool.
Could not think of it.
So again, one more cover from a legendary band. I like how he's sprinkling in, mostly Kiss songs, but he's giving homage to like other artists, other rock bands, and playing songs that he wants to play.
Right.
You know what I mean? I feel like some people might say that that's selfish of Gene to come out and say, "Hey, we're doing this for us." But again, if you've been on the road 50 years doing Kiss, it's like, he's done everything he needs to for us. This is his time. Right. And if you want to be here and share that with him, go for it. And that to me is what this tour is all about. It's Gene and his band getting out and getting to do stuff they want to do.
Right.
And not feel weighed down by, a rigid structure of a show.
And there's no product to sell. Like, we're doing this in support of the new Gene Simmons album.
There's no album, no nothing. It's just, we're here.
Right.
And I wonder if maybe he was referring to some of the bad headlines, because as soon as those headlines came out, Gene Simmons canceled shows, low ticket sales, nobody cares about Gene. I wonder if he was thinking, no, this is just for us. You know what I mean? This is just for fun. There is nothing riding on this. It's not life or death. It's just all for the love of rock and roll. How about that?
That's good.
So yeah, I felt like, so even though I didn't necessarily want to hear Bad Reputation, Gene wanted to play it.
And the song went over great. I enjoyed it.
I did too. And now I know one more Thin Lizzy song, right? So
there you go.
I got schooled a little bit last night at the Gene show. At this point, we're still soaked. We're still wet. But this is probably maybe the second craziest part of the set list.
This was the one that I think my jaw was on the floor for.
Yeah.
Because I thought, I'd like to hear Weapons, or whatever. And he started talking about the S word.
Mm-hmm.
And
this is one more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is one ahead. So you had asked me what I wanted to hear, and I said Parasite.
Oh, yes. And I said,
well, what do you want to hear?
I want to hear Charisma.
And I thought, oh, yeah, he used to play that in 2017, but he's not going to play that.
And as soon as he started it,
Charisma.
And he brought up
some kids on
stage
to
sing.
That was really cool.
That was cool, but I thought that was the odd thing because I would have had the kids up for I Love It Loud.
Same.
And to try and teach the kids, what is my...
Yes, they did good. I will say, they learned it, they got it down, but I was like, the kids should do, hey, and then have the adults come up and actually sing melody and words and all that.
Yeah.
But no, he had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids up there.
5 kids up there.
5 kids up there. Some had demon makeup on, and they all said their names. And I'm thinking, man, those kids are going to grow up. And when Gene's dead and gone, they're going to say, I got to be on stage with Gene Simmons.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, again, some folks could say, Gene, quit getting fans on stage and just play. It's like he's making memories for these kids, these people. The adults on stage get to have that moment, but these kids are going to grow up and say, I got to be on stage with a legend. I can't say that,
Yeah.
You can't say that.
Nope.
Nobody I know can say that, but these kids are going to, and it's happening every single show. So Gene is planting seeds for the future. I feel like these kids are going to grow up and have that with them forever.
Yeah.
So who cares if the one person in the lawn is complaining about not getting another song? Who cares? This kid is getting a moment that if you were that kid, you would die for that. Right. I would die for that. So every kid, my name's Lucas. I'm like, yeah, Lucas. I'm like, good for you, dude. You're where I want to be right now. You know what I mean? So that was a really cool moment.
And I think the song just works so well. It's one of my favorite songs off of Dynasty.
Yes.
And it was in the mixtape I was telling you about that I got from a classmate in school. Charisma was on the other side of that. And I remember going, that is such a cool song. And I don't think it gets enough credit for being a truly great Gene Simmons song. It kind of gets lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
But live, Gene's band just knocked it out of the park.
They did.
That, up until the next song, that was my highlight. I didn't get Weapons, but I got to hear Charisma, and Brett's solo sounded so good. Mm-hmm. You could close your eyes and hear the little ping in the solo that Ace would pull off, and it was note perfect. That at that moment, I was like, I could have looked at you and said, "Okay,
You ready to go?
Let's go.
Let's go."
It's rained. I got to hear Charisma.
Yeah.
So the next song that comes up that I misread it. Gene starts talking about the S word.
Yes.
And I was like, is he going to swear at the show?
Yeah.
And then he starts singing, starts going, bip, 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 bip. We're like,
wait a minute.
Is he?
He even talked to the guy next to him. He was like, you want to do...
Yeah.
You want to do birds?
Birds, you want to do...
Or you want to do spit?
And we're both
and
like...
we said, what did he just mouth? And he goes, we're going to do a song now called Spit. And he goes, I wrote it to mean, it don't mean to me. But Bob Ezrin said you can't put that on there because Walmart won't sell it. So we changed it to Spit. And the whole time I'm going, they're going to play this revenge cut right now?
It's so weird as you're saying that. I could hear Gene say it from a stage, but my mind is going, oh my God. He's going to play something off of Revenge.
Right.
And it's not Unholy, and it's not Domino.
No.
It's not Thou Shalt Not. He's talking about Spit.
Spit.
He's probably just going to talk about it, and that's going to be his way of going, so that song was on Revenge, and we're going to do Domino.
Yeah.
And
which would have been great.
Would have been fine. But they started, they counted off, and I was
I'm
like...
thinking, oh my gosh.
They never completed the song on a convention tour. They did a little bit here or there. We had watched MTV Unplugged.
Yeah,
that
we
night.
saw it on Unplugged.
Of all the songs, I think one of us might have said, well, they're not going to play that song live. So the fact that they learned the whole song, played the whole song, they didn't do the Bruce Kulick Star Spangled Banner.
I was going to say, it was cut off a little bit, but it was the majority of the track.
But what did they pair that with?
So this is where it gets interesting, because I was almost wondering, is this really happening? Because, so they're playing Spit, which, as we know, is, musically, structurally, it's one of the more complex Kiss songs.
Yeah.
It's very bouncy on the drums, and, of course, Gene's scatting over it because it's so bouncy.
And you have
so
Jason
weird.
doing the Paul Stanley
vocals.
vocals.
Yeah, he was going back and forth with the Paul stuff. Yeah, the bigger the pushing, or the bigger the cushion, the better the pushing. Yeah, so most definitely. So that was cool hearing the trading back and forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, so at some point, I'm listening to Spit, and it transitions into something else that's a little bouncy and a little weird. I'm like, well, I've always thought that Spit was very Zeppelin-like. Mm-hmm. But now this is, more Zeppelin than anything. And then he goes, whole lot of love. They start singing Whole Lot of Love. Woman, you. I'm like, what? They did it so flawlessly how it was
Yeah, there was just
I couldn't even tell you if it was the last chorus or the last verse of Spit into whatever, because it was so seamless.
I think the last, going into the guitar solo of Spit, it morphs. I think that's where rhythmically it changes just slightly. Mm-hmm. So they do a little bit of a hobbled Spit solo and get into the rhythm of Zeppelin, and that's where it goes. So they don't come back and reprise Spit at the end.
No.
They finish out Zeppelin tune, but still.
Yeah, so it was Spit and Whole Lot of Love packed into one big, long track, and that was something.
That was cool. So that was the moment I was like, okay, Charisma was here, but you just played a song off of my favorite album.
Yeah.
So
yeah, even if Charisma's number one, Spit is tier zero.
Right.
Yeah, tier zero. That's just that's the ultimate right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, at this point the rain is definitely coming down.
Yeah.
And we're thinking hopefully it's getting close to the show, end of the show. But Gene has a couple more surprises for us, or at least one more surprise for us. And he says, this band from Liverpool wrote this song. They never did it live. We're going to be playing it live here for the first time ever. Here it goes. Now, Daphne's a big Beatles fan. I'm not, so it took me a minute to actually get it.
And I'm a decent Beatles fan that I know a lot of stuff, but when we got back here this afternoon, that I was struggling to remember what album it was off on. She's like, oh, that's off of Revolver.
Yeah, Daphne says, oh, it's a deep cut off Revolver. Yeah. And the song being And Your Bird Can Sing.
Yeah.
So we're thinking, whoa. Okay. So again, he's like, never before played live. We're going to play it here. He was even saying, this is before Detroit Rock City twin guitar. This is before Thin Lizzy twin guitar. This is the Beatles twin guitar action.
He mentioned Thin Lizzy right there. That should have been the clue.
That should have been the clue. Right. Yeah, you're right. But anyway, so he goes into a Beatles cover, which is great. And then at the end says, again, no more wasting time. This one's Calling Dr. Love. And this was getting towards the end of the set list, we could tell. But that one I felt like was a good one to kind of have at the end. It's a nice classic Gene song.
Yes.
But it's not like Charisma where only half the crowd knows it. It's like, okay, everybody can participate in this one.
Yeah.
So that one was kind of good. And we're thinking, all right, when's it going to end here? Because we're getting really cold now.
That's one of those, I I hate being at like a sporting event when it's raining, or you're in the 8th inning and you're like the home team. It's 12-4. They're not coming back.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be on ESPN tomorrow. We left, and the section that we were in, like 2 rows were completely gone because it's raining.
It's raining.
It's raining hard.
Yeah.
So I looked over. There's no protection now from other people. Our whole left sides are just completely soaked.
Yep.
And we kind of had that look of like,
are we going to stick it out?
Are we going to stick it out? If you give the high sign, I'm out of here. But the mentality of my dad is in my head going, we paid for these tickets. We're going to stay here. We're going to wait till, even if the home team is losing, we're going to stay. So it's
That's
like,
right. So we said,
and
we're
I
going to wait it out.
As long as it's rock and roll all night, we'll stay to the end of the song.
Yep. And he brought some more folks up on stage and said, he even brought out the Iron Maidens back out.
Yeah, the Iron Maidens. And the Iron Maidens kept on like gang vocal stuff. They were out periodically. And they stayed off to the right side of the stage the entire show. Even when it was raining off of the back side that they probably had to tuck in a little bit.
Yeah.
They never left, and they were there the whole entire time. And anytime they could get out there, Gene would like wave them on. They would come right out. So cool. That was cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. They were a great band, and they were even saying, Gene Simmons, the legendary, but you never know how an all-female band is going to truly feel about Gene, because
they could have been like, no, we're out of here.
They could have just said, we're going to show up and do our show because we want to get paid, but we're not going to talk about Gene. We don't want to be with him, but whatever. So they were like, no, legendary Gene Simmons. And then when he's on stage, you can kind of see him in the back hanging out, and Gene's looking at him, pointing to him.
Yeah, and they're pointing back, and you can see them,
and they're like
jamming along.
Yeah, and then of course
they were in it just as much as we were.
They really were. They were definitely there to see the legend Gene Simmons, and they had the best seat in the house. They're on side stage, which is awesome. We didn't even mention Uncle Bob. We didn't even mention the roadie.
The roadie for the day. We got to see him come out.
So we're like, there's the guy that paid $12,000. But yeah, Gene goes, "Where's Uncle Bob?" So he brings Bob out and has Bob out, and then Bob's helping with the kids on stage and the microphone. So you got to get to see Bob do his roadie stuff for a little bit.
Yeah, brings the microphone up and then, has him talk into it. He's like, "Come on, Bob." He's like, "Bob." Hello. He's like, "No, say it like a man." So,
yeah. Hi, Bob. I'm Bob. Yeah. And he's like, "All right, Bob, thanks."
Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah, and then for Rock and Roll Night has Bob come out and sing. Yeah. So that was really cool. I mean, I know that there's been a lot of heat about this whole, $12K for a roadie, but it's like, yeah, but if you're the roadie.
Yeah, but on the end of the road, if somebody did the VIP meet and greet with Gene, you get the bass. That person was spending $4,000.
Right.
And you got the bass, and was he plugging a cord in? He could have, but if I had that kind of money, and I got to go up on stage, and even if it was like, "Hey, Rob, go put a cymbal up on Brian's kit,"
sure,
fine. Then I get to say I got to work with Gene. I don't care. Like, if you've got the money to do that, right on, go about it.
Absolutely, it's your money, not mine. I can't tell you what to do. So yeah, I mean, I think the roadie thing, you get to like hang out, you get to stay at the hotel with Gene and eat breakfast with him and the crew, which is really cool.
Yep.
And then of course you get to load in. Help load it and set up, and then you get to come out on stage and sing and be a part of it. You get to have all the pictures and video you want, and you get to, I think, keep the bass. Or play the bass.
Yeah.
And then I guess the rest of that money is because of insurance. Gina stated, well, insurance costs are high because if somebody gets hurt, that's on me. So I have to have coverage for that in case there's an injury or an accident because, I mean, yeah, you have one person who's not used to all this, anything could happen,
And this is nothing against
Sue or whatever.
Right, and this isn't anything against Bob, but he wasn't exactly a spry guy.
Strong.
He was kind of just moving slowly across the stage. He could have anybody could have easily tripped on a cord.
Sure.
So I mean, Brent could at that point pulled a cord thinking Gene was messing with him. It could have been poor Bob.
Brian was throwing drumsticks all night.
Oh my gosh, that was cool. He could have taken a drumstick to the eye.
Yeah, he could have hit Bob in the head with a drumstick, and it's like you never know what's going to happen. So I feel like people should really just wait before you are negative because there's always a reason for something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And plus, who's not complaining? Bob. Bob's having the time of his life right now. He's on stage.
Bob's laughing all the way home. I got to do this. I got this bass. He's hanging Gene's bass on the wall right now.
Bob's laughing because he has $12,000 that he can spend and it won't even bother him. You know what I mean? For us, it'd be like, $12,000. Yeah, but I'm eating ramen for the rest of my life.
Right.
But Bob's like, this is, I'm good. So good on you, Bob. But yeah, that was really cool. Rock and Roll Night starts being played. All the people on stage are having a good time. We're having a good time, and then as soon as it's over, we are out of there.
We hear Great Expectations coming off the PA, which was kind of cool. Xander looks at me and goes, "You ready? Let's go." And we make
Are you ready?
Yeah, are you ready? We make a beeline for the car. And then, of course, the sidewalks, parking lots, grass are just full of... Like, there's no way to get around and go, I don't want to step in this puddle. My feet might get... Well, they might get wetter than I'm already...
You're floating in your shoes at this point, so...
It's just a matter of getting to the car and then trying to get a heater on and get back to the hotel. Thank goodness the hotel was only 4 minutes away.
Bingo. Yeah, that was best. So even though all in all, there was rain, there was this or that, it was a phenomenal show. I'm so glad we got to go.
And if we knew it going to the show, it's going to rain exactly at this time, you were going to be soaked like this. Do you still want to go to the show?
I think
absolutely.
All in all, we got lucky.
We did.
Because we were still thinking, because the weather was saying it's going to rain. Thunderstorms, 5:30, it's going to rain 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And it's like...
Our 3-hour drive.
It kept getting worse.
It rained almost 2.5 hours of that 3-hour drive, and it just got worse and worse until we got to the venue, and then it cleared up.
It cleared up. I said, if it could just clear up for most of the show, I'm good.
Right.
And it was, for the most part. There was some rain about halfway through, and then towards the 3/4 mark, it was coming down, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to wake up sniffling, and I'm going to be having a cold. But no, we made it work. It was a great night for rock and roll. I would not regret it. We got to meet a fan of our shows. And then there was also one other person I want to make a shout out to, Philip Hill, who wanted to meet us. We just couldn't figure out
what sections
we were in. We were on Facebook communicating. So, Philip, I want to say thank you so much for watching the show and being a supporter. I'm glad you were there, and I hope you had a good time. I'm sorry we couldn't meet, but I did want to give you a shout out because, it's always great to meet.
There were some other KISS podcasters out there.
Jason Herndon was
there.
Herndon
from Kiss My Wax, Sonny Pooney
from Podcast Rock City.
So I know there was probably some other people.
Man, we could have had a Rosemont Part 2 there.
That's
if we had everybody get together.
And that was kind of cool to see, to go back through, your own Facebook feed or whatever, and go, oh, this person was here, this person, and different points of view that people were taking video and stuff from. Like, I don't have a really good shot of Brian doing his drum solo. I found somebody else's footage. So that's really kind of cool, that this whole KISS community, and seeing other names and places of people that may be watching this right now going, I didn't know you were at the show. That's so cool.
Yeah. It was really great to see Gene. He was in great spirits. The band sounded tight.
Yeah.
Great set list. I know. I mean, we can kind of talk about some things we would change. I mean, is there anything that you would maybe want to see Gene not do differently? Just in your mind?
I'll play Daphne's part. Coming from a theater perspective, there's a thing that you don't want on stage that sometimes they call the pregnant pause. Like, you want to keep the show moving. So it was like, hey, bring that girl up here. And then, okay, he would say, can you take your rubber off? Meaning the poncho. He didn't want the poncho up on stage. It's like, the reason I'm wearing the poncho is because we're getting soaked out here. So it was like he was cherry picking kids. Like, oh, this one and that one. Bring them over here. Then they would have to bring the person all around the side of the stage, all the way up from the backside. So at the point where we're starting to get soaked, I was like, okay, we've kind of done this little shtick a couple times. You had the girls come up and sing. Now you have the boys come up and sing. And now you have, 20 people on stage coming up and sing. So like Rock and Roll All Night, when he had about 14, 15 people up there, plus the Iron Maidens, trying to get all those people on stage, that was a point where I was like, maybe have cut one of those, like know the audience, know that it's raining. Okay, maybe we're not going to do the kids on Charisma. Leave that one out, and then try and bring people up from Rock and Roll All Night. That would be the only thing. But I think had it been a nice evening and there's no rain, I don't know if I would be in that mindset. So that might not be an accurate thing that I would change. But just some of that waiting for people to get there was kind of slowed the show.
I think you're 100% right. I think my biggest issue wasn't with the fact that he was bringing folks on stage, because I already talked about how amazing that is. If I was in their shoes, that would be amazing. So
I think the time that it took to get people.
It's the fact that Gene probably wasn't, and his crew wasn't aware of that specific venue and where to take fans, because you have one fan going all the way around here. One fan's crawling up the front of the barrier,
and then they've got to get up to the stage. That's probably another 6 feet.
Yeah, there was one kid who just jumped and like climbed his way on. I was like, oh my gosh, if he falls, that's bad. So I feel like it was cool to bring fans up, but maybe beforehand go over it with your crew. Like, okay, so there's this entrance over here
Right.
and over here. And he was like calling to AJ.
AJ, where are you?
So I feel like if there was a little bit more structure there, like I said, the pregnant pause.
Yeah.
If you took all of that over the course of the whole evening, you could get one more spit where it's like one more song where you're like, no way, dude.
Yeah.
So, yeah, even though I had no problem with people getting on stage, it did seem a little bit disjointed in how they were going about it. You know what I mean? So,
Gene kind of kept it lively. He was kind of
he
making
was,
jokes here and there, kind of being interactive, but then he would have to get a little distracted. Like,
yeah.
And at one point, he's like, no, please, take him around the longest way possible.
Yeah, and then I would, this is almost ironic to say, but I would almost tone down the inappropriateness a little bit, because obviously it is rock and roll, you're Gene Simmons, I get that, but when literally every other, I mean, if you guys thought the 80s soundboards were raunchy, this was like 80s and 90s, this is like 80s Kiss and Revenge Kiss all mixed into one.
Yeah.
As far as like the jokes that he was making.
There were a couple things where you're like, ugh.
That would have been fine in the 90s, but this is 2025.
Right.
You know, so I feel
again,
like...
know your audience, know where you are, but I can understand Gene going, I don't care.
Yeah, well, no, exactly. It just seems a little weird that he would be making all these like really raunchy jokes and then say, all right, kids, come on stage.
Yes, exactly.
You know, he's talking about like, you know, some stuff that maybe kids shouldn't know about.
Yeah, the kids are like,
years.
you have a girlfriend right now? Well, pretty soon you're going to. I mean, look at him down there. You know?
Right next to us was like a 10-year-old girl and her dad, you know,
right.
And I felt bad because the dad's like, oh, no. And then she's like, Daddy, what does that mean? He's like, no, please. So, you know, I get it. It's Gene. He's unfiltered. But maybe somebody in his band should say, hey, Gene, maybe tone it down.
Yeah.
And he was even pointing out in the crowd, like, asking, hey, Grandma, is it okay if I use potty words? And he's like, all right, fine. I won't ever use them again, you mother... Or whatever. You know, he was just kind of playing around
and then
with
he's like, let me tell you a little truth about men. We lie.
Yeah. Always know men lie. Yeah, so he was having fun with it. I mean, if you know Gene, you can kind of look past it. But again, maybe for the sake of the structure, you could have like maybe condensed it down a little bit. But all in all, it was a great show, despite the rain, the weather, the cold. It was an awesome show. I'm glad that we got to go together. Yes. And there's going to be no Collector's Corner because Gene had no merch.
We're wearing the merch. Like, he had a logo. I don't know if Xander may put it up or not. But he had a logo of what the Gene Simmons band logo was. So right away you pulled out your phone like, I wondered if there's any merch, which is why I bought the Beaver Dam.
Yeah, we did get Beaver Dam t-shirts just to say we were there.
I thought the hat was kind of cool. I was always kind of a hat person, so I thought, I'll get a hat. So we got back to our seats, and you're like, I wonder if there is any.
Yeah.
And sure enough, there's a Gene Simmons band hat, which I go, is that an expense that he's like, I don't want to have to bring merch. If you want my merch bad enough, that we'll print, rather than print up 5,000 shirts and hope that we sell them all.
Yeah.
Then we have to store them. Or you order them, and then I just press that one shirt. I press that one hat. So we did buy an official Gene Simmons tour merch shirts
from the website.
From the website.
Yeah. No tour dates on it, but it does have the band on it, so that we can say we did see him live.
Yeah. So
that's really cool. But yeah, so is there any other thoughts you want to get to about this show? Obviously, it was fantastic. I highly recommend. I mean, he's only going to be playing a handful of shows.
Yeah.
You know, so if you guys are going to get your tickets, get them now because. Only a handful of U.S. shows that he's playing. So
and they're all kind of in a central, location. I mean, he may go east and west coast a little bit, but it's not like he's going to do 20 dates on this side and 30 dates on this side. It's going to be sparse. My big thing is thanks for asking me to come, to be able to stay at Kiss Army headquarters and sleep on a hardwood floor. No, I'm kidding. No,
kick him outside, make us a concrete slab.
So that was just cool, having the experience that we had at Rosemont to go. Geographically, it's feasible for us to meet up again. And as soon as you asked, I looked at my wife and was like, I got to go.
Yeah.
I appreciate the hang with you and Daphne Friday night, share some pizza, watch them kiss.
Sure.
And then to get to take essentially a 6-hour road trip, 3 there, 3 back, listening to music in the car was just a highlight. And to be able to be here, not be in a split screen,
this is cool.
Share a space. And then if you watch my eyes while we're podcasting, my eyes are kind of like looking around the room like, oh, there's that thing. Oh, so that's what's on the other side of the wall that we certainly see once in a while. So I apologize if I'm not looking at camera. But there's a lot of stuff in here that I just want to look and go, if I just reach over here and say, well, this has been fun. See you, bye.
Yeah, right. Hey, where'd that go? I don't remember that. Yeah.
RBTE, they're thieves. They're stealing stuff now.
Hey, speaking of everybody, right now, go to Right Between the Eyes podcast on YouTube. Go subscribe because Rob is going to be uploading a documentary of this trip. So you're going to hear everything we just said in documentary form.
Yes, and I'm actually, my camera's down below right now, so I don't know if hi me in editing world. So I'm probably not going to put this whole excerpt up here. I'll probably put a couple little bullet points.
Yeah.
But this is like the camera 2 version, and I hope I'm in frame. So yeah, I filmed my whole trip down here. Then when I get in the car, I'll film some stuff back and forth, and then our interactions in the hotel and stuff like that. So
yeah, so check that out on his YouTube channel. I'm going to have a smaller vlog on our Patreon, so if you want to become a subscriber there, you can do that. But of course, yeah, this is the main review of the show.
Yes.
Literal round table, us back around the table talking about Kiss. I haven't seen you since Rosemont, so I want to say thank you for coming along with me because it's been great to get to know you the last couple of years, but also just to get to see Gene. And it's been really awesome, man. So thank you.
I appreciate it, and it's always one of those getting to meet like an internet friend where you're sitting in the same room and you look over and go, "That's Xander.
That's Xander from Kiss Army. Yeah, that's Rob from RBTE. Yeah, which we met in Dayton.
Yes,
we met at the Dayton show.
You and Daphne,
which is on Eric Singer's birthday.
Eric Singer's birthday, yeah.
Speaking of, you're gonna stay tuned because Rob and I just did an Eric Singer episode on his show.
So that would have been the Thursday before I came here. We filmed something on Eric, so that is going to be up on May 12th, Eric's actual birthday. And that next morning, I got up and drove here.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is crazy.
Yeah, so we filmed that one on Thursday.
Yeah,
and then we filmed ours on Thursday as well for Sunday, which for them was last Sunday. And then you and I went to Beaver Dam. You're filming your documentary. I'm doing the review and the vlog. So you're looking at, we're putting some content out right now. So be sure to subscribe. Follow RBTE on Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube. Where else?
And
X.
On X as well, yeah.
X as well. Of course, you're here on Kiss Army Things YouTube. So thank you for subscribing here. If you haven't, please do that. And then stay tuned for Rob's documentary and my vlog. But all in all, guys, thank you so much for listening to us reminisce about our Gene Simmons show. We had to do it quickly, otherwise the memories fade.
Right.
You got to do it soon, otherwise, the memories fade. But that's the cool thing about doing these episodes is that we get to capture our memories now. The Rosemont episode was so great because we got to do that, and so this to me is like a nice, like a time capsule of what we got to experience. And so just thank you, Kiss Army, for always wanting to join us on these fun episodes. I love making content. I know Rob loves making content for you guys. So yeah, we're going to be having all kinds of content coming out surrounding the Gene Simmons show. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Rob, is there anything else you want to say as we're wrapping up the show here?
Nope, I think that's it. I've got to have this orange Moneybag soda that I cannot get anywhere, so I'm happy to be able to have at least a couple to be able to have on this trip, and that's just been absolutely great. So thanks for... No.
There's 4 of those in there. 4 orange sodas. Just for you, my friend.
Okay,
because
this is now the highlight. Seriously.
There's the highlight. Yeah, that's the collector's corner right there. So yeah, so I gave Rob 4 orange, blood orange Moneybag sodas because I know you have been trying to get them.
It's impossible. I know I could go through and try and order stuff like that.
Yeah, but there's no Rocket Fizz near you. There's no like a 7-Eleven or wherever they're being sold. So yeah, that's a bummer. So I'm gonna make sure you go home with a box of Moneybags so that you can have them for the next show or the next,
So while I'm editing this right here, I'm drinking this.
Bingo. So, perfect.
Thank you, Kiss Army Things. Thanks for watching, and this has been an absolute blast.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, brother.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. Rob's got to hit the road. He's got a long drive home.
Yep.
I got a lot of editing to do, so I'm going to go ahead and get cracking on that. Thank you, Kiss Army, for watching episode 139. We'll see you next time. My name is Xander.
And my name is Rob.
Peace out. Rock on.